Hi guys, I'm JM.
Hi guys, and I'm Audrey, and today we're going to be discussing what's next for the Philippines and we're through forecasting movements and trends.
Long ago,
So,
long ago,
long ago, the nations lived together in harmony. Well, mostly. Then everything changed when COVID-19 attacked.
so the pandemic has disrupted the normal day-to-day lives of everyone, effectively changing our definition of normal. More importantly, the future became more uncertain for everyone. And as if getting surprised by pandemic is not enough, in the Philippines, the government seems to act slow uh, upon the problem at hand. So this begs the question, Anyari Philippines, what happened? And they even had the gall to put the blame on the Filipinos. So there are a lot of articles saying that Filipinos are pasaway or like they are hard-headed. But there are some people who are saying that the Filipinos are actually not pasaway or they actually follow the quarantine guidelines. So what is the truth? How do we solve this question? So as data scientists, we aim to solve this question through data. It just so happened that Google recently released a report called the Community Mobility Reports. So, what exactly are the Community Mobility Reports? So, it shows the change in percentage visits in specified areas. So, the gathered data was from February to June 23, 2020, and they made the baseline, which is from February to early March. So the data gathered after early March is the change in the visits in specified places. So Google specified six places, which are groceries and pharmacy, parks, residential areas, retail and recreation, transit stations, and workplaces. So for this data set, the group chose the Philippines because it's more relevant in this pandemic. And and what are the risks of using this data set? Actually, the group has found two, and one is the accuracy of data and the definition for geographic locations. So for the accuracy of data, we all know that um, for example, for rural areas, the data retrieved might not be as accurate as one would expect. So for this data set, the group narrowed down more and chose Central Visayas region and Metro Manila region. And the second one, definition for the geographical locations. Uh, for example, in Manila, the definition for retail and recreation might not be the same for other regions. So the group also take note of that, and as a consequence, we also chose Metro Manila and Central Visayas for the data set. So data privacy concerns. So a lot of people might wonder how Google gathered the data. So basically, the data is anonymized. So they use differential privacy. So what happens is that Google is collecting data without getting the personal information of the users. So for the movement of people, the group tried to visualize the trends of the changes of visits in specified locations through time. So as you can see here, um, after March is the baseline here is the one where there's a horizontal, almost horizontal line. So after that, you could see the change in the baseline. So you would see that here that except for aside from residential areas, the change in visits actually decreased through time, and it's sustained. So what we can say is that the people are actually following the quarantine guidelines as opposed to what the politicians are saying that uh, Filipinos are hard-headed. And actually, this is also the same for Central Visayas. So the trend is maintained or similar to Manila. And for the Philippines, this is also quite the same. They also the aggregated data for Philippines is also um, exhibiting a similar trend to the previous regions. So what's next for the Philippines, or like, are the Filipinos going to continue following the guidelines? Audrey will explain to you the answer for that.
Okay, thanks, JM. So as JM said, yes, what's next, Philippines? What will it be like in the next few months with this uncertainty? So let's go. Let's go find out. Okay, so what the team decided to do was we decided to predict the movements of the Philippines through an ARIMA-based study. So what is ARIMA? ARIMA is short for Autoregressive Integrated Moving Average. So in theory, most general class of models forecast a time series which can be made stationary with ARIMA by differentiating the data, perhaps in conjugation with nonlinear transformations such as logging or deflating if necessary. So with the ARIMA, we use these models in the time series, and these lags are different. So we have different lags upon the different industries that we have mentioned in the previous slides. Okay. So what are the challenges of forecasting data? Well, the assumptions of the conditions must be the same. So these forecasts that we have are greatly dependent on the news and on the Philippine government, especially with the news with presidential news that come out once a month or twice a month, depending on the government. So what happens is that in the small period of time, it really depends on what happens here is greatly dependent on those news here. So these may not be accurate due to the fact of its dependency. Okay.
So
So
another challenge in forecasting data is that we think that the data we gathered was too small, because we're forecasting through the days, and it only captured the from February to June. So that's like um, more
that's
than
under
100 days.
36 days.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So thanks for that, JM. So what we can see in the next few slides would be the forecast that we have made for either to stay at home or to go outside. So what should we be doing right now? So in the next few slides, we'll definitely see that Filipinos will opt to stay home. Common trend in forecasting in both Metro Manila and Cebu, despite their enhanced community quarantine extending. So we can see residential places are increasing, and people are still choosing to stay at home rather than go out with this decreasing pace. So as you can see from Metro Manila, you can see a decreasing trend in most industries except for household. So you could see here most people opt to stay at home, or it's going to be steady state with especially groceries. People, as groceries are a necessity, and pharmaceuticals, people would rather just stay safe and just go do buy their necessities right now instead of going home, instead of going out. For workplaces, most places have, like most of you, have decided to shift to an online pace rather than go to work and risk your workers or yourself to going there with how public transportation has been, which is also reflected there, that because of public transportation now and lately with the MRT station having 3 positive cases already in some stations, it has greatly affected people's commuting to and from work. This is also the same case in Cebu. So you could see here an interesting pattern here, though, is that parks and workplaces have been fluctuating unlike for Metro Manila. So what happens here is that people opt to go to parks as as form of recreation, form of meeting people, rather than go to the mall, go and see them like the usual places before. For workplaces, for Cebu having to extend their enhanced community quarantine, it has really shaped their economy there and would like to start moving back. And as you can see, residential areas, of course, have still increased and it will be increasing soon. So these different places so these different um, industries for both Metro Manila and Cebu have very much been affected, and we have used different ARIMA models, different PD and Qs to definitely forecast these assumptions for them. So what the team has realized was that we have to, sorry about that, our realizations were that before making statements, the government should definitely have to look into the data between these. These should be data-driven solutions instead of assumptions given. There are infinite possible ways with data. Data is already here, and we definitely have to be using these more carefully. So we would like to add that with this, we should definitely still stay at home for a bit and choose wisely where we should be going right now. So thank you very much, and that is the end of our presentation.